Here we are back together again, you know, after my amazing, absolutely amazing solo interviews.
Yes, for the last two.
I know, for the last two.
I know, I felt quite out of it.
Well, you were. Well, you did the filming, so I suppose.
Anyway.
You were a necessary piece of the action.
Enough of this great hilarity.
Yes.
What did we learn about our last 2 weeks in the Charente?
That it rained quite a lot.
Yeah, it did. Too right, it did.
Yeah, not as much as England, actually, to be fair, and it was highly unusual, but it certainly didn't help what we were trying to achieve.
It was wet.
Yeah.
You know, so it was actually very difficult to make a judgment call on whether it would have been okay to race or you could have a track day or not. I mean, obviously, if it's in the wet like that, it's a bit unsafe, and so therefore it probably wouldn't be a good idea.
No.
But as you say, if it's that unusual, it might still have been quite nice because we had no frost.
It was quite warm.
Well, there was here, so I mean, it was a reasonable temperature. So from that point of view, it'd been quite nice.
Yes.
And the other thing, of course, is, gosh, it's a pleasure to drive down there because the traffic is just virtually non-existent.
Well, the traffic's non-existent, and the roads generally, I have to say, are very well kept. And obviously the motorways, well, I mean, they're just second to none.
Well, they're a dream.
Yeah, they really are. No.
But one of the things I think, you know, what did we learn down there? From me, one of the things most interesting, and perhaps you'd like to expand on it, was this thing about selling second-hand cars.
Yes, that's true. Now, I mean, the classic car market actually in France is not too bad. I would say it's actually better than here.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, probably because of Brexit. But the interesting thing we did learn about second-hand cars is that even if you sell as a private individual, and dealers actually have a better deal than private individuals, so we're told, but you basically guarantee a car for 2 years. So if it goes wrong within 2 years, you actually either have to get the car repaired or give them the money back. So if they've let's
take an example. Let's say you have a car. Let's call it a Peugeot 408.
Well, let's just give one example that we were told about actually, and that was that Renault 5.
Renault 5, yeah.
That was sold. This lady sold it apparently for €500.
Yeah.
18 months later, she got a call from the buyer to say the car had gone wrong, and she laughed and said, "Well, you know, it was only €500, but actually, she had to give her money back." Now, I mean, what can you say? Well, if it's all true, which I'm sure it is, it's bonkers.
But it is bonkers. I mean, to be perfectly frank, €500 is not so much a disaster. But if you're actually got one where you've sold it for €10,000,
and we also know of someone who did that.
23 months later, they turn around and say, "Sorry, there's something the matter with this car, and I want my money back." You've got to give them the money back.
Yes.
Because if you went to a court of law, so we're told, you would lose.
Well, you're quoting an actual instance where this car was sold for 10,000, and the chap then phoned up and said, "Oh, there's something this and this wrong." And they said, "Well, we sold it perfectly. It went through the control technique, no problems whatsoever." In the end, they went to the solicitor, and the lawyer said, "Well, if you go to court, you will lose." So they drove a long, long way in France to pick it up, give him his 10,000 back. They then went and had it all checked over, absolutely nothing wrong with it. So you rely totally on the person's honesty. Having said all that, the French government is now looking at changing that.
Yeah, but don't hold your breath on that.
But you know, things can take quite a long time.
So the old adage that we have over here, caveat emptor, let buyer seller beware, is not the same in France.
It appears that's what we've been told.
When it comes to second-hand cars.
Yes.
So just the thing is this: be warned.
And that's probably
why they're so expensive.
Yeah, because but I believe there are certain, for dealers, it's not quite so onerous, funnily enough. But I can't, you know, I'm trying to find out a bit more. But they're basically relying on people being honest, and of course, as sadly as we know,
there's an awful lot
everybody is.
People will abuse the system.
Yes. Yeah. So they're changing it. one
Okay.
day. Maybe, you know, when we might be still alive, but who knows
Yeah,
how long it
correct.
can take.
Right. Okay. Well, I think.
Is that about it for today? Do you
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think because that's actually I think very important for anybody who thinks it would be nice to buy one in France in a second hand,
Absolutely.
or more to the point, I'm selling one with second hand
Yes.
brands, and what they don't realise is the risk attached to it.
Exactly. But if anyone's got any more feedback on this, we would really welcome it.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
absolutely.
I certainly would, because it's
Yeah.
not something I knew about at all.
No, and when I spoke to a couple of other friends of mine in France, they weren't aware of it either.
No,
So it's not something that doesn't seem to be that widely known.
No.
But maybe it's just us innocents.
Obviously, yes, it could be, I
Yeah.
guess. But
Anyway, I think that's a good message to
Yes.
send out to all
Yes, yeah.
our lovely friends.
just to cheer you all up.
Yeah, absolutely. So from now on, it's au revoir
Yeah.
and goodbye.